Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Josh Nelson with Plumber SEO, one of the newest additions to the QSC Industry Partner Group. Excited to be talking with you guys today and sharing some great ideas around Google Maps optimization, getting ranked better when someone types in, your city plus plumber, your city plus AC repair on the Google map. And I appreciate you guys joining us today, despite the the fact that today is voting day. I know that it's been a hectic day, or will be a hectic day later for you. Chad, Carol, Susan, and Greg, thanks for posting in that little comment box the fact that you can hear. I want to keep this webinar as interactive as possible. And interactivity being, as you guys have questions, as you guys have comments, you can either raise your hand if you're in front of a computer, or just type in your question into the question box, just like you did where you wrote "I can hear," and I'll make sure that I address those questions as we go. So my name is Josh Nelson. You can see a photograph of me up on the screen. On the left there, you'll see a picture of me and my wife. We live in South Florida. My wife's actually a member of the Plumber SEO team as well. She's one of our account managers. And you can see the rest of our team on the right, Dean, Norton, and Wayne. And we specialize in providing internet marketing, search engine optimization, specifically for plumbing and HVAC businesses. We have a passion for internet marketing, especially as it relates to helping our clients get ranked better, get more inbound calls, and get better results via the internet. Here's what we're going to be covering on today's webinar. And I talked with Charlie about this, and we decided, rather than trying to take the internet marketing puzzle, which is search engine optimization and Google Maps optimization and social media and pay-per-click and all of those different things in one long webinar, we decided we'd be hyper-focused and break it down into a series of webinars where we can really give you some detailed information and some detailed strategies on very specific components. So today we're talking specifically about the Google Map, aka Google Places, or now Google Plus Local. And real quickly, what I'm going to be covering, starting with why the Google Map and Google Plus is the #1 most important online marketing source for you as a plumbing or HVAC business. I'm going to talk about the differences between the map listings, the organic listings, and the pay-per-click listings. Then I'm going to talk about the core fundamentals of getting ranked on the map. And I'm sure you've all heard you need to claim your Google Places listing, but once you do that, there's typically a question mark. What else do I have to do? And I'm going to go into depth on each of these, but you need to optimize that listing correctly. You need to establish your name, address, phone number, aka your NAP, and then you need to get real reviews from your real customers in your true service area. And I'm going to be talking a lot about each one of those specific components, including some ideas on how you can systematically start to request and get reviews from your real customers there in your real service area. As I go through each of these sections, I plan to stop and ask what questions you guys have and answer those questions. And then, of course, at the end, we'll have additional time for questions and answers. So you can either raise your hand inside the system or type in your question, and I'll make sure I get to as many of them as I possibly can. Just so you know, again, I'm the co-author of the Complete Guide to Internet Marketing for Plumbing Contractors. It sells on Amazon.com. I sent a copy of the book to all of the active members of QSC. So if you didn't get that for some reason in the mail here over the last couple days, feel free to shoot me an email and I will get a copy to you in the mail free of charge. Our clients rank in page 1 on the map. And I'm not going to show you these screenshots to brag. Really, I just know that you get so much information about internet marketing, about getting on the Google map. It's really hard to tell what's legit and what's just somebody, throwing out nonsense that really has no merit to it. So I just want to show you that, if you type in Fort Lauderdale plumber, spot a position, that was driven by the strategies I'm going to be explaining on this webinar. Atlanta plumber, spot A on the map, same thing. Rancho Cucamonga plumber, spot A on the map. Santa Monica plumber, spot A on the map. Miami plumber, spot A on the map. And again, I could show you a lot more examples, but really what I want to do with those screen captures is just to explain that These are the actual strategies that we've implemented for these companies in order to get them to those positions. And I'm going to be explaining the entire process to you over the next 45 minutes here. So I would encourage you, since you're on the webinar, close the door, grab a pen and pad, and I can assure you, you're going to get some great information and some great knowledge out of this presentation. So let's just start by talking about why the Google Map and Google Plus Local is the #1 most important online marketing source for your plumbing or HVAC business. And it all starts with the notion that there was a major transition in the last 7 to 10 years from what we call offline to online. It used to be 10 years ago, you could have a full page ad in the Yellow Pages, have a nicely wrapped truck, and you were doing pretty good. That large ad in the Yellow Page was the #1 place people went when they needed plumbing and HVAC services. As the transition from offline to online took place, people stopped looking at the Yellow Pages at the same velocity that they once did. Now, I'm not going to be the guy that says Yellow Pages are dead or you shouldn't be in there at all, because I know there's still some percentage of the population that does go to the Yellow Pages, but I would tell you that it's not the predominant source anymore. So the question is, where are people going? Where are they looking when they need your plumbing and HVAC services? And the answer is, for the most part, they're going to the internet. A study that was conducted by ComScore of 2,000 consumers found that more than 86% of them use the internet when they're looking for plumbing and HVAC or home-related services. So, I mean, that kind of answers the question that, well, for the most part, they're going to the internet. The next question, though, is where do they look when they get to the internet? And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, a little bit further in the conversation. Do they look at the paid listings, the organic listings, or the map listings? Well, Google Plus Local is probably the #1 place on the internet that they look when they're searching for your services. So when they go to Google and they type in your city plumber or your city AC repair, the place that they spend most of their time looking is directly at the map listings. There are actually over 20 million searches every single month for plumbing and HVAC related services. And we know this because if you run an AdWords campaign, you know that Google gives this information freely. We've done a lot of research on what the most commonly searched plumbing and HVAC keywords are, and we've been able to add that up and identify that there's over 20 million searches relative to plumbing and AC repair and heating repair type services. So there's a huge opportunity for you, and Google Places is going to be one of the most important things you can do, or Google Maps, to harness that opportunity. Before we start to get into some of the technical aspects of getting ranked on the map, I just want to help you understand what the opportunity is for you once you start to rank well on Google and Yahoo and Bing when people type in the various things that they type in when they're looking for your services. And for me, the best way to do that is by showing you an example. And I've got a screenshot up on the screen. One of the companies that we work with in the Tampa, Florida area was an avid Yellow Page user. He's been in business for over 20 years, big time in the Yellow Pages, got almost all his business via the Yellow Pages, and then found that that wasn't generating the same result that it once did. So he decided to get involved in the internet. And so he set up a website, he paid some internet marketing folks to build it and to, supposedly optimize it, got very little results, and wasn't ranking very well. So he, started working with us. We were able to implement our strategy, as you'll find in the book and in future webinars. But what I want to explain in this portion is just that by implementing internet marketing strategy, he went from initially getting about 11 calls a month via the internet, and those 11 calls were probably from people that just went to Google and typed in his company name, his company plus city, and it was about 11 calls. By the third month of having a really proactive internet marketing strategy in place and ranking, for a lot better for most of his keywords, he had 57 calls in that third month. By the time he got to the 9th month, and now this is pretty much his average, he ranks for a majority of the plumbing related keywords in the Tampa area. He averages over 125 calls every single month directly via the internet. And the idea here is, by ranking well, I know a lot of you think, I don't know, maybe even once I get ranked on page 1, I don't know if that's actually going to result in any increase in calls or any increase in opportunity for me as a business. Well, this is just one example of how once you do get ranked, it will result in a significant increase in phone calls, which of course lead to service revenue, which will lead to a more profitable business. So actually, I promised I would stop at each section, so that was just the explanation of why Google Plus and Google Maps is so important for you as a business. Are there any questions on that before I go into the differences between the paid, the organic, and the map listings? I'll just hold for a couple seconds here, and if not, I will continue on our way. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so I will continue. So it's important to know that there are specific differences when you type in your city plus plumber, your city plus plumbing, your city plus AC repair, your city plus heating. There are actually 3 core sections of
Josh?
Yes.
Josh, there were a couple of questions, and I couldn't get back to you quick enough. There is one of them there. Just a second here. Let me get to it. Is a map's listing more important than the #1 organic position just below?
Is the map listing more important than the... I'll address that in more depth in a little bit in the presentation, but I would venture to say that being on the map can actually generate more opportunity for you than being the #1 organic position just below. I mean, you want to rank as often as possible. You definitely, if you're not on the map but you're in this top position just below the map, that's still good. But it would definitely be better to rank on the map, in my opinion. I will get you a copy of the book, Greg. Let's see. If you guys could you just chime in on the sound? Greg's saying he's having a hard time hearing. Is everybody else hearing okay? Okay. We will continue. Oh, Carol hears fine. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. Okay. So, like I was saying, there are 3 core sections on the search engines. There are the paid listings, the map listings, and the organic listings. And it's important to know the differences between the 3 because you need to have a different strategy and a different approach for each of those 3. And if you're not aware, this will be a good learning opportunity for you because you might be missing some significant opportunity by not understanding the differences. So along the top and along the sides, which you see pointed to on the screen right now, are what's called the paid listings, also known as AdWords or pay-per-click. Those listings you're able to rank in by setting up an AdWords campaign, picking the keywords that you want to rank for. So you might say, I want to rank for plumber, plumbing contractor, AC repair, and then bidding on the keywords. I could do probably an hour-long presentation about AdWords and the merits of pay-per-click. That's not going to be covered on today's webinar, but it's important to know that that section is paid, and you can buy your way into those listings. The section just below the paid listings that I've got highlighted on the screen right now are what are called your map listings, and that's really the core of the conversation we're having today. You cannot pay under any circumstance to rank better in the map listings. Ranking in the map listings is really a function of Google feeling that you're legitimately in the city that the person searched, then that you're one of the most reliable providers in that area. You have more authority than your competition. And that's in terms of citations, in terms of links, and in terms of online reviews. And I'm going to speak specifically about that through the remainder of this presentation. And then the third section on the search engines is what's called the organic listings. Again, you can't pay for the organic listing. You can't pay for placement there. That's really a function of the content that's on your website, how the content on that website is optimized, and then how many links you have pointing back to the various pages on this specific website. And again, that's what's called search engine optimization. And again, that's another area of the search engine that we'll have a separate webinar on and go into depth in a different webinar. But again, those are the three sections on the search engines: pay-per-click, map, and organic. You need to understand that there are three different things, and they have to be addressed in three separate ways. In the perfect scenario, you'd like to show up as often as possible when someone types in, your city plus plumber, your city plus plumbing. So perhaps when you're operating in all cylinders, you have a pay-per-click ad, so you're showing up in the paid listings. You have a well-optimized Google Places listing so that you show up on the map. And then in some cases, you can show up both on the map and the organic section as well. Any questions on the differences between the paid, the organic, and the map listings before I continue? Okay, there's a question from Greg, or maybe a statement. In PPC, can you target your money towards the sponsored links above the map as opposed to PPC on the right side of the screen? I will answer that. I'm not going to go into too much depth on the PPC side of the equation. So these top three listings are really driven by your bid price and your quality score. If you've got a well-optimized website with specific ads that match to the landing pages, then you'll have a good quality score. And if your bidding is more competitive than your competition, you will rank in these top three positions. It's really a function of quality score and budget per click. So if we just were to say we're going to bid on the keyword Santa Monica plumber, and this top listing said I'll pay $19 for every click, and the second listing said I'll pay $17 per click, and this guy said I'll pay $15 per click, well then, all other things being equal, quality score wise, you would have to spend $15 or more to rank in that area above the map listings. I hope that answered your question, but any other questions on that before I continue? Doesn't sound like it. So typically, the next question that we get is, well, if I can pay my way into the paid listings up here along the top and along the sides, why do I need to spend the time and the energy to try and build the authority for my company so I can rank on the map and in the organic listings? And the answer to that is the majority of the population, when they search, and there are different studies that say different things, but the typical study you'll see from ComScore says more than 70% of the population is going to click down here in the organic listings, either the map or the organic, as opposed to the paid listings. So there's still opportunity up in the paid listings. There's still that 30% of the search volume that can be captured from there. But if you're dealing with a limited budget and you can't afford to pay on a per-click basis, then getting ranked in the organic section or the non-paid listings is going to drive the best return on investment. And typically that's where the eye goes. That's where people click when they are searching for your types of services. This is a heat map. A heat map basically just studies the usage patterns of people. And it could be thousands of people that they had look at a screen, and the area that's highlighted, the area that has the most light or heat, is where the mouse tends to have spent most of its time. You'll see on this heat map, almost all of the heat is generated toward the map listings, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So the big opportunity, in looking at the different portions of the search engines is in the map and organic listings. So now we can finally get to the discussion of how on earth do I actually get my plumbing or HVAC business to rank on the map when someone types in my city plus my service. And that's probably the number one question that I get from plumbing and HVAC contractors throughout the country. And it really comes down to three core fundamentals. And if you're wondering, what's the secret to getting ranked on the map, this image that I have up on the screen is really the secret sauce. Over here on the left, you'll see you need to have a claimed and optimized Google Places listing. And I'm going to explain what that is in a few minutes. The second key thing, once you've claimed your Google Places listing, is you have to have a consistent name, address, phone number profile that's referenced in the same way across the web. So you need to be referenced with your company's name, address, and phone number, not just in Google Places, but on Yahoo Local, and City Search, and Angie's List, and Judy's Book, and Best of the Web. And I don't know if you can see it, but that's all of these little logos represent those various online directory listings. And then the third critical component is having true reviews from your real customers in your real service area. And if you have those three core components really well harnessed within your plumbing or HVAC business, you will rank significantly better on the map. And that's really the secret sauce. And I'm going to drill down on each of these in more depth. So when I say you need to have a claimed and optimized Google Places listing, you know, there's a process whereby you can tell Google, I'm the owner of XYZ Plumbing Company in, Dallas, Texas, and this is my listing, and really stake your claim on your Google Maps listing. If you haven't done that, you definitely need to do so. In order to do so, you would go to google.com/places. And when you go there, you would see something like this. You'd see a screen that says, if you want to write reviews, start writing reviews on the left, or on the right where it says get your business found on Google, that get started button, that's where you go to claim your Google Places listing. And if you look at, the process of getting ranked better on the map, step one, if you haven't done anything else, is to claim and verify your Google Places listing. Because that's how you can control your listing. That's how you can tell Google that this is your business and you're legitimate and these are the services that you offer. If you don't do anything else from this webinar and you haven't claimed your Google Places listing, I would suggest that you write down google.com/places on a notepad, and as soon as this webinar ends, go there and follow the process to claim your Google Places listing. Now, you guys are QSC members, so I imagine most of you are well past this. But if you're not, this is where you want to start. Some best practices as you go about claiming your Google Places listing. Because once you click that button, Get Started, it will take you to another screen where you type in the phone number and address of your business. It looks on the directory to see if you exist or not, and then it asks you for a number of pieces of information that you can add to your Google Places listing. The categories that you want to be in, what your phone number is, what your hours of operations are, photos of your business, videos of your business, and whether you already have a claimed Google Places listing or not, these are best practices that you need to implement. And I'm going to assume that most of you have a claimed Google Places listing that you either control or that some company claimed for you. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is you want that username and password. So if it was some company that you contracted to do this for you, or just an independent guy that did it for you, I would make another action item for you. Send an email to that person and say, hey, I just want to make sure I've got my username and password for my Google Places listing. If you have that, could you please send it to me? And then you'll be able to log in by going to google.com/places with that username and password, and you'll see what Google has for you currently. And some things that you need to make sure are correct in order to optimize your Google Places listing and avoid any potential penalties. First, you're going to have a company name record where you can list what your company's name is. And that might seem like, how could you mess that up? But the reality is, Google's rules clearly state that you can only have your legal company name in that field. And there's a lot of SEO companies and a lot of individuals that tried to get creative and said, you know what, even though the company name is Joe's Plumbing, I'm going to change it so it says Joe's Plumbing dash, Dallas Plumbing Services. And then we've got our keywords in there and we'll be able to rank better. Well, Google specifically states that that is a violation of their terms. And we've seen a lot of listings get penalized and actually removed from the map from something as simple as that. So go in there and make sure that it's just your company's legal name that's listed in that company field. There's an option to add your website address. Obviously, you want to have the direct link to your website in that field. It's a good inbound link. It's also a place where people can go and get some additional information. It's also important that you have a website address linked to your Google Places listing, because Google's going to spider that. So it's going to see your listing, it's going to follow it over to your website, and your website itself will help Google understand what your actual address is, what services you offer, and get more context about the type of organization that you are. The next thing it asks for is your phone number. And this is another critical factor. You need to use a local phone number. An 800 phone number will not work in your Google Places listing if you want to rank. Doesn't convert very well either, but Google specifically states it prefers local area code phone numbers. So if you're in Miami, it needs to be a 305. If you're in Fort Lauderdale, it's a 954. Whatever your local area code is, whatever your main number is what you want to put there. The other critical component I'll say about that local number situation is you want it to be the primary phone number for your business. So not the tracking number that you set up so you can track your Google Places listing, not the vanity number that you set up. Whatever your primary business phone number is, the one that you set up with the phone company, that's what you need to use here. And I'm going to explain why in the next step when we talk about establishing your consistency of your name, address, and phone number. But no 800 numbers and no tracking numbers in your Google Places listing. You need to have a local physical address. So we found that a P.O. box is a violation of Google Places rules and regulations, and you will not rank with the P.O. box. You probably won't rank with a UPS store either. There was a time when you could go out and rent a number of little UPS store addresses that were not unique to you. It was basically just a box where you received your mail. We found that Google has now pretty well realized or pretty well captured all of those UPS store addresses and is not ranking businesses that have UPS store addresses. Remember, their whole idea behind Google Maps and Google Places and Google Plus Local is that they want consumers to be able to search and find real businesses in their area that they could potentially go and visit. So if you're using a UPS store or a P.O. box, obviously that's not a legitimate business where somebody could potentially visit, and so Google is less apt to rank that. Now, the best case scenario is you've got a rented office that's actually in your main city, and that's what you would like to use. I know that some of you may not have a physical address. Maybe you have a home office. That's fine. You know, you can absolutely list a home address on Google Places or Google Plus Local. We have clients that rank on page 1 in very competitive cities that operate from a home office. There are some caveats to that, though. You need to hide your address. So you can say, oh, look, I operate from a home office, but customers don't come to see me at this office. And there's a button within your settings. You just click Hide My Address, and then you're well within Google's rules and regulations. You don't have anything to worry about there. In the event you're not comfortable publicizing your home address and you don't have an office, worst case scenario, you can rent a virtual office. You know, one of those places that give you a unique suite number and they'll collect your mail and they'll answer your phones. You can use that, assuming they give you a unique suite number. That's the critical component of that. And then, of course, you're going to have to develop the name, address, phone number profile around that. But that's the worst case scenario if you don't have any of the other options. Two other things you can do within Google Places as you claim and verify your Google Places listing: upload photos and upload videos. I'm going to suggest you can upload up to 10 pictures on the Google Places dashboard. Upload your 10 pictures. Try and use authentic imagery. So the temptation is, oh, well, let's just take some stock pictures, you know, that guy with the wrench and, you know, the smiling guy. It's just a stock photography that doesn't have any true representation of who you are or what you do. But that's not going to convert as well as if you actually put a picture of your team, a picture of your trucks, a picture of your office, your actual logo. Try and take that type of imagery and upload it to your Google Places listing. It works a lot better. Two, I guess, advanced strategies with your images and uploading those images, as opposed to just uploading them directly to, your Google Places dashboard, you can save those images to your computer, log into a website called Panoramio, and Panoramio is a image sharing site that's owned and operated by Google. You can upload your images to Panoramio, and then Panoramio gives you an option to geotag them. So actually plot on the map where that image was uploaded from. Obviously, you want to plot on the map the location of your address. Remember, we want to give Google more context as to what your true location is, and by doing that and then linking that image to your Google Places listing, you get a lot more context. The other thing you want to do with your images, as opposed to just calling them image 1, image 2, image 3, or XYZ plumbing 1, XYZ plumbing 2, think about your keywords and name your image by those keywords. So if you're Dallas Plumbing Company, you might want to call your image Dallas Plumber your company name.jpg, or Dallas Emergency Plumbing Services your company name.jpg. That way you're adding your keywords to the images, again giving more context to Google. Videos, same thing. The temptation is not to add any videos. We found that if you can get at least 2 videos, it does give you a pretty significant bump in your ranking. So you want to upload videos to your Google Plus local listing. Again, I would suggest try and use authentic videos. So take out the iPhone, take out the digital recorder, and just record a couple quick videos. Hey, we're a full-service plumbing contractor serving the greater Dallas area, and we offer emergency plumbing, drain cleaning, water heater installations, and repair. We guarantee we'll show up on time. And I'm the owner, so you can call me anytime, and we'll be out there right away. Give people an opportunity to know who you are and what you're all about, and video is a great way to do that. Besides, just giving you a check on the list of things that you should be doing to optimize your Google Places listing. For videos, you upload them to YouTube. You also have the opportunity to geotag them like you do with the images on Panoramio. So geotag your video with the address of your location. Doing that, just covering these basic items in your Google Places listing will make a significant difference in the way that you can rank on the map when someone types in your city plus all of your different services. Once you've completed the process, whether you're doing it for the first time or you're doing it as an update to what your previous provider did, you're going to get the option to verify your update either via phone or postcard. Sometimes you don't get the phone option, in which case you just have to wait for the postcard to come. I'm going to recommend where you get the option to verify via phone, select the verify via phone option. And it's very quick. You'll get a phone call that comes into your main line, and it will say, "This is Google. Your PIN code is 33627," or some unique code, and then you would key that code in, and those changes would then be saved on your Google Plus local or your Google Places listing. So, those are some really good fundamentals and some good things you need and should do in order to optimize your Google Places listing. I actually have developed a guide that takes each of these steps into a printed format that you can download off our website. It's at plumberseo.net/Google-Places. I've got it up on the screen. If you go there, just enter your name and email address, and you can download that guide. It's about 15 pages. It talks specifically about how to claim your Google Places listing and do all of those things I was talking about with Panoramio and YouTube. Any questions about how to optimize your Google Places listing before I continue? I am not seeing any questions, so I will continue. So if you go online and you do some research about getting ranked on the Google map, and you talk to 10 different SEO or internet marketing folks, that's pretty much where the conversation ends. They say, "Oh, you should go to google.com/places and you should claim your Google Places listing." But in reality, that's only about 10% of the battle. All that does is make sure that you're well optimized and Google knows that you're a plumber in your city and that these are the different services that you offer. The critical component in ranking better really is having consistency with your company's name, address, and phone number, and a lot of citations for your company, and I'll explain what a citation is in a second, and having real reviews. So when I say you need to establish your NAP with citations. A citation is just a web reference of your company's name, address, and phone number. And typically it's going to be a web reference on Angie's List or Judy's book or the local Chamber of Commerce or the PHCC or QSC. The critical component, though, is having a lot of citations from quality sources, but also having consistency with your name, address, and phone number. And what I'm finding with larger plumbing and HVAC contractors isn't that they don't have citations, it's that they don't have consistency with the way that their company's name, address, and phone number is referenced. So, again, the name of their company might be Joe's Plumbing, but it's listed in a different way in a variety of different places. So on Info USA, it's listed as Joe's Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. On Angie's List, it's listed as just Joe's Plumbing. On the Yellow Pages, it's listed as Joe's Plumbing Service, for instance. And so that really takes all of the citation juice that you have, or the web references for your company, and creates lack of clarity, lack of consistency. The other thing that's typically not consistent is the phone number. I'm a major advocate for phone tracking. As you saw in the example I showed earlier for that company in Tampa, the only way we could gauge how many calls were coming in was because we had a call tracking number on the website itself. Now, in order to make it so it didn't interfere with the name, address, and phone number information, we added into a graphic on the website. So Google didn't see it and didn't translate it as a inconsistency with the name, address, and phone number. So while you want to have tracking mechanisms and you want to track your stuff, on your online directories, on Google and Yahoo and Bing and City Search, you need to have your main company phone number. Because if you have one number on Angie's List and a different number on Yelp.com and a different number on Google Places, your NAP is inconsistent. And your NAP is basically like your web-based thumbprint for your company. Google wants to see consistency in that name, address, and phone number in order to feel like you're the true major player in your market that you actually are. So the key is to figure out what that name, address, and phone number is, and there's some due diligence that probably needs to be done on the front end to say, okay, here's our legal company name, here's our main phone number, and here's our website address. Now that we know what that name, address, phone number is, we got to get busy with all of our online directories, making sure, first of all, that we're in there because we have to have citations for authority, and then that we're in there with that name, address, and phone number with consistency. Because when you've got that consistency and that quantity of citations, now you're the authority online, and Google feels much more comfortable making sure that they're listing you. Some of the top citation sources that you can go to and you should make sure that you're listed in order to develop that authority are Bing Local, City Search, Yahoo Local, Angie's List, Judy's Book, Merchant Circle, even eLocal Plumber has a free online listing you can add to. If you want a complete list of what we've found is the top 150 online citations that you need to make sure that you have, again, you can go to plumberseo.net/Google-places and you can download that guide. We have them all listed in the guide. Any questions about consistency with name, address, phone number? Okay, Chad, I've got your question. How do you rank for multiple cities when you cover a large service area and are only based out of 2 cities of your 35? And it's a good question. It's a unique challenge right now with Google Places, and if you want to rank on the map in all of those various cities, you're probably going to wind up with a challenge. I mean, it's probably not going to happen. It's not going to fly in the real world. You can rank on page 1 in the organic listings on each of those 35, but it's probably going to be a mixture of map-based page 1s and organic or non-map page 1 listings. Because typically, you're only going to rank in your big city, and if we're talking about the big city like Houston, Dallas, Austin, Miami, you're going to rank in those big cities when you have an actual physical location in that specific city. In the absence of that, you're going to have a challenge, in all fairness. Now, what I have seen done successfully is to rent virtual offices in the smaller cities and establish the NAP for those specific locations. So let's say you got 5 virtual offices. Now you have the potential to show up in each of those 5 cities. The challenge then is you have to establish that name, address, phone number for each of those locations. So it needs to be a unique address with a unique phone number that goes to a unique landing page on your website for that location. Trying to get into that is possible. We've done it successfully in a number of cases, but it is also a lot more work, and you know, it's probably not something I can drill down into in a ton of depth on this webinar. I hope that answered your question. Okay, another question, Greg. I've got your question. Will using the and sign versus AND in your name cause Google inconsistency, or does Google understand the similarity? On that one, I'm going to say yeah, Google does get confused if you're using the and symbol versus AND spelled out. So you definitely want, it would be a worthy investment to go back into those listings, establish what's being referenced more consistently, the and sign or AND, and then pick one and go back into your online directory listings and make that consistent. The same goes for, you know, if you're Southwest or Northwest, using NW versus Northwest spelled all the way out. Or if you've got a suite number and you use a unit in one place and suite in a number and just the pound symbol in yet another, there's probably not a right or a wrong, but you need to go in and figure out which one you're going to use and then use that consistently across the board. Greg, I hope that answered your question. Jessica, I have your question. If we're using tracking numbers, which one should we use for our listings, such as Google Places? Use our actual business number, non-tracking, or website that is a tracking number. I think if I understand your question, you're asking if you should use your actual business number or tracking number on Google, and I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, you should use your business number. You don't want to use a tracking number on Google Places or Google Plus Local, because that's, unless you're using that tracking number on everything, which you're probably not, it would defeat the purpose. It's not going to work well. The other thing, you know, that's important with that, using that main number, is typically your main number that you set up when you started the business with your phone company is going to be a seasoned number, which means the number's been around for 10, 15, 20 years. Google's seen it in its index on Yellow Pages and other places. And so that carries some weight in ranking, having a seasoned number as opposed to some random tracking phone number. So Jessica, I hope that answered your question there. I'm running short on time, so I'm going to continue. Keep sending your questions in, and I've got to continue this along. So the next critical component in getting ranked on the map is having online reviews. And more important than just having online reviews is having real reviews from your real customers in your true service area. You cannot fall into the temptation to say, well, let me just set up some Google accounts and put up fake reviews, or go to one of these online sites where you can buy fictitious reviews. That's a game that Google has become very privy to and that you will lose. So you don't want to play that game. You don't want to get into that battle. You need to have a real process to get true reviews from your real customers in your real service area. So let's talk a little bit about how to do that. So here's a strategy that we found to work very well for getting reviews, for our customers in their geographic area. And it's kind of two-pronged. The first prong is develop a list of your current customers, your sphere of influence, your friends, your family, your associates, people that you know, like, and trust, and know, like, and trust you. And develop just a short list. You could probably do this on Excel, or if you have a CRM, you can export it from there. But develop a list of your circle of influence. Put together a simple email that says, hey, our company's in the process of really focusing on our online reputation and developing our visibility online. And we'd like to ask if you could do us a favor. Could you take 5 minutes out of your time and go to one of these online directory sites and write us a review. The key here is give them options. Give them the option to write a review on Google Plus, local, or your Google map listing. Give them the option to write a review on Yelp. Give them an option to write a review on Angies List. Give them direct links to each one of these online directory sites, because different people use different review mechanisms. Some people are big-time Google users. They've got a Gmail account. Anytime they want to write a review, they can just log into Google and write a review, and it's really easy for them. Other people have never even used Google, and so for them to write a review on Google Maps for you is a challenge. That they'd have to set up a Gmail account or a Google account. They'd have to verify their account, and then they'd have to go out and write a review. And then that review probably won't carry too much weight because Google's looking at the reviewer profile. However, that same person may just love the Yellow Pages. And so if you gave them a direct link to your Yellow Page listing where they can go on and not even have to set up an account, just write a 5-star, hey, this is a great plumbing company in the Phoenix area, and send, and it's done. Other people are Angies List users, and they only will spend time on Angies List. So the point is, you want to give them options. And it's very easy to set up a templatized email that's got the pictures of the icons and says, hey, if you take a few minutes, we'd really appreciate if you'd write us a review. That's the first prong, and it will give you a nice boost in your online reviews. And you want to have at least 10 reviews in your Google Plus listing and at least 5 on the other various online review sites. Again, you want to diversify where your reviews are. They can't all be on Google Maps because that doesn't look consistent. So you need to have reviews across the spectrum of the major review sites. The second prong is you want to put a process in place where you're consistently asking for and getting reviews from your real customers in your true service area. So one really easy way to do this is to set up an autoresponder through Aweber or some other email automated responder system. And after service, you type in the name and email address of your customer, and you'd have an email that automatically goes out. And it would be similar. Hey, thanks so much for your business. We appreciate the opportunity to serve you. If you'd be willing, we'd love if you could write us a quick review online. And you give them those same options. You give them, Google and Yahoo and Yellow Pages and Angie's List, and let them choose. And by doing that on a consistent basis, you're going to start to get some percentage of those customers to go online and write reviews for you. The one challenge that we found in that process is a lot of the plumbing HVAC companies are saying, but you know what, people don't want to give us their email, or we haven't started collecting emails, so we don't really know how to do that. And we found that if you wait until the very end of your process to request the email, the acceptance rate is pretty low. So if you're dispatching the call, you're providing the service, the technician's basically collecting payment, and then saying, oh, by the way, let me get your email so I can send you a request for review, they're going to say, oh, no thanks, I appreciate it. Very few people want to give that email because immediately they think, oh man, I'm going to get a bunch of spam from these folks. I don't want to play that game. Now, if you change that equation or you change that process and you start to request the email on the front end, so in other words, thanks for calling XYZ Plumbing. How can I help you? Hey, I've got a plumbing emergency. I need somebody to come out right away. Oh, absolutely. We can get somebody there at 1 o'clock. Let me collect your information. And at that point in the conversation, you train your front office or your dispatchers to collect the name, phone number, email address. At that point, then you're golden. Very few people are going to refuse to give you an email when you're still collecting their information. So that's a really good strategy that we found to work really well. Just ask for it on the front end. And getting emails is much more important than just being able to request a review. That's just one piece of the reason that you want to have emails. I mean, you want to have these emails so that you can start to touch your real customers on an ongoing basis. You can drive a lot of repeat and referral business just by sending a simple, well-crafted email on a consistent basis to your past customers. Any questions on the review request process before I continue? And I am running short on time. Thanks, Jessica. I'm glad. Okay. So just to recap, here are the real critical components to getting ranked on the map. You need to claim and verify your Google Places listing. If you haven't done that right now, you need to write down google.com/places, go online, verify your Google Places listing. If you hired an outside company to do this for you and they claimed your Google Maps listing, you want to send an immediate email out there to say, hey, you're doing a great job. I just want to make sure that I have that username and password so that I can have my records in order, and get that username and password from them. Then you want to make sure that you got consistency with your name, address, and phone number. So you figured out what your name, address, phone number is, and then across the web on all of those online directory listings, it's referenced in the same way consistently. Then you want to put a process in place to get real reviews from your real customers in your true service area. Just a quick secret weapon that's available on the market to help automate this process. It's a tool that we implement unilaterally, and ultimately, you see the image up on the screen. You see a technician standing in front of a house. You see an iPhone, and then you see a little map. So the way this tool works is, if your technicians have smartphones in the field, whether it's an iPhone or an Android or an iPad, whatever they have, there's an app they can install called Nearby Now. And that app, as they go in to provide service, so they get to the home and they're about to walk in, they would take out their smartphone or their smart device, they would load Nearby Now, and they would click one button to check in. And that initial check-in will then capture the information from the GPS and plot on the map where that check-in took place. So, obviously you're in a main market, you service a variety of different areas. You want to help Google understand your true service area, and this is a critical component for getting ranked on the map that I didn't spend a lot of time on, but having that check-in data, now you can have that automatically syndicate back to your website. So if you tune in for my next webinar, which is going to be about search engine optimization, I talk about having pages for each one of the cities that you operate in. And in each one of those pages, you need to have unique content. They can't be identical. They can't be 100% the same. By doing this, you can have those check-ins automatically post to those sub-city pages, which gives unique content to each of those pages, a lot of geocentric information, which will help you rank better in your sub-cities. After they check in, they'll go back. After they've provided service, they can go back to their iPhone and press another button to request a review. So I don't know if you guys can see the image, but it's an iPhone and it says, a little button says send a review. When they click that, they'll type in the customer's name and email address, or their name and cell phone number, and an email goes to the customer immediately thanking them for their business and asking if they would go ahead and take the time to write a review. We found that by taking the onus off the dispatch team to send these emails or to type these emails and placing it on the technician who's already in the field, who's already at the customer's home, and just making it part of their process to do another step to type in the customer's name and email address, you get a lot higher percentage of your service calls that wind up with some kind of request for review. And so this tool is called nearbynow.co, and you can learn more about it at nearbynow.co/plumber SEO and how it applies to the plumbing and HVAC space. But it's been very beneficial to help Google understand the true service area and to automate that really important review request process. So, then you've got a complete puzzle. You've got a claimed and optimized Google Places listing. You've got consistency with your name, address, and phone number across the web. And you've got a process to help Google understand your true service area and to systematically request and get real reviews from your real customers in your true service area. And we found that if you do that on a consistent basis, that's how you start to rank page one for your services on the map. If you guys want to download the guide, it's at plumberseo.net/Google Places. Again, that's a free guide that you can download. If you'd like help, if you're the kind of business owner that would say, this is great information, I think that these strategies are sound, but I'm not going to go in and do this myself. I'd like to have somebody who knows what they're doing, who's got proven results, manage this process for me. Obviously, that's what we do. We're QSC partners. We try and add as much value as possible and give you the information so you can do this on your own with complete transparency. But if you'd like to have us do it for you, we'd love the opportunity to talk with you. You can call me directly anytime at 866-610-4647. I've got the number up on the screen. Or email me, josh@plumberseo.net. And I'll do a complete review of your current website. I'll look at your Google Places listings. I'll look at your online name, address, phone number, profile, and be able to give you an idea where you're missing the boat or why you're not ranking on the map in your area. So that's the presentation. I think I stayed right within an hour. I would love to answer any additional questions that you guys have, and feel free, if you want, even to raise your hand, and I can unmute you so that you can ask questions live. So I will keep the phone open for a few more minutes, and if anybody's got questions, send them now.